There are certain bad habits or vices that we have that temporarily boost our happiness, but the moment that we stop that activity, our happiness slowly decreases. So if you want to have a more permanent increase in happiness, you need to give up that bad vice. And the thing about giving up these types of bad habits is that you never realize how happy you can become until you give it up. So the reason this works is because you free yourself from something that you always knew was bad. Even if it makes you happy in the moment, you look back maybe a day later or 2 days later, and you wonder, should I have really done that? Was it worth it? So you realize that it's bad, but you keep on doing it because it gives you that temporarily sense of happiness. So when you do decide to give up a bad vice, you take yourself more seriously because you took on a huge challenge, a huge obstacle, and you nailed it. And that sets you up for the pattern of success. Giving up one bad habit, one bad vice after the other allows you to set up that pattern where you focus more of your time on the work and the activities that matter the most. So, as I like to say, giving up a bad vice, even if it makes you happy temporarily and then you look back at it and you realize, what was I doing? Unintended consequences of awesomeness. You never know what is going to happen when you give up a bad vice, but the only thing you can know is that what will happen is going to be awesome. When people hear about giving up bad vices, they think, great, so how can I make it happen? And making it happen is as easy or as hard as you make it. So I decided to give a very easy strategy that you can use to get rid of any bad vice. The first thing is to identify it. So if you identify a bad vice, that's the first step to actually getting rid of it. You cannot solve a problem without first knowing what the problem is. So the second step is where some people go wrong. And there are two approaches to getting rid of a bad vice. The first approach is the cutoff approach, which means you go into this and you think, I'm going to go from consistently doing this particular activity to never doing it ever again. I'm going to cut it off. It's over. That's the first approach. The second approach is the gradual reduction approach. And this is a smarter strategy because you gradually reduce the time you are doing this activity instead of every day, every other day. And then once you get to that milestone, you do it once per week. And then you gradually reduce at this bad vice until it's completely gone. You aren't even thinking about it anymore. And then you can focus your time on activities that are more significant to your well-being and to your success. One of the most recent bad vices that I gave up was playing video games. And this is an activity that for a very long time, I didn't view it as something bad. I just saw it as a way for me to take a break after doing a lot of work because you need to take breaks in order to increase your productivity. So I thought, okay, I'll play video games in order to take my breaks. Well, what happened is I got interested in the piano again. And I went on a 2-week vacation in which there were no video games in sight. So I reduced my time I spent playing video games before I went back home. And by reducing the amount of time I spent playing those games, it was an easier decision for me after that 2-week vacation to say, I'm done. I'm going to spend more time playing the piano. But as it turns out, when I gave up the video games, not only was I able to play the piano more, but my business also started to take off like crazy because even though I was playing the piano every day, I would have more time to spend on my business since I was no longer playing video games. And when you give up a bad vice, and this could even initially look like a good activity that is fundamental to your life, when you give that bad vice up and you get to see it from another perspective, you take yourself more seriously. You take your expertise, you take yourself, You take everything that you do more seriously. So that's how my business was able to grow. I took myself more seriously and I decided to put more time into it. And now I'm happier and more productive because of this decision. So if you're looking to boost your happiness in a powerful way, but also increase your productivity like crazy, then get rid of a bad vice. It may not look bad right now, but just take a different look at it. Take a different angle and ask yourself, is this the way that I really want to be spending my time? If you have any questions about identifying a bad vice, eliminating a bad vice from your life, or any other questions relating to happiness, then post your question in the discussion section and I will quickly get back to you. That is all for this lecture. I hope it has served you. And what I want you to do is to dream big, achieve greatness, and unlock your potential today.